Charles, seriously, thank you so much for what you do. How did you get involved in this? Tell us a little bit about the chicken and egg. Did you buy this Batmobile or create this Batmobile and then use it, or was the need there and you went and got this Batmobile?
Well, when I first told my wife that I thought we should buy a 1966 Batmobile, the first thing that happened is, no kidding, we ended up in a marriage counselor's office for a very fun hour, and the marriage counselor sided with me. But once we got the car home, we kind of thought as a family, you know, it's neat to have a fancy car and all, but it didn't seem right that we should own it and not in some way share it with people. And we didn't know what form that was going to take. So it took a lot of time, but eventually we got to talk to a lot of charities like Hope Kids and other folks with whom we've been very fortunate to work. And now we use it just as Bridget's charity Hope Kids does. We use it to try and entertain gravely and terminally ill kids and their families, and something that brings us great joy.
When did this first occur? When did you first buy the Batmobile? When was that?
So my kids were 3 and 5, and they started watching the 1966 show. We actually have 2 Batmobiles. The first one we bought off of Craigslist. I'm not making that up.
Wow.
And then
holy cow.
After about a year, exactly, holy cow, and then after about a year, we finally settled on this notion of helping families. And one of the very first families we helped was a family named the Cowells. Their youngster, young Colten, he was 3 years old. He was diagnosed terminal with leukemia.
Hope Kid, right?
He was a Hope Kid, that's true. And when we went out to his house, the thing that was so amazing to me, he was transformed. He started the evening as a child who would be defined as a terminal cancer patient, but at some point I threw the keys to his dad and said, take your kid for a ride.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And Colten came back from the 5-minute ride, and instead of being a cancer patient, he was just a happy little kid who wanted to go for one more spin with his dad.
Good for you.
And then it morphed on, and then eventually we got an idea from another child, a kid named Ethan, who would not get in the Batmobile unless it was taking him to the cave.
The crime-fighting cave.
And so thus was born the idea to build a 5,000 square foot crime-fighting cave, which we have now done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And now, as all crime-fighting caves, it's got to be anonymous location, correct?
Well, 14 miles outside city limits is what I can tell you.
Okay.
If you remember the sign.
Your
younger listeners may not know what that means, but there used to be a sign that said 14 miles.
And it falls down and the Batmobile drives over it, if I remember right.
Bingo.
Yeah,
you got it.
yeah.
You got it.
Now, this is really a Batmobile. Tell the listeners, this license plate and all, this is a DC Batmobile, correct?
Yeah, that's true. We've retired our original Batmobile, and we have since purchased an officially licensed DC Batmobile with the serial number DC002. Kind of a neat little footnote, DC001 is also here in Phoenix, owned by a friend of mine. So yeah, it is. You can actually call this the Batmobile. It's the real deal.
That is a neat club to be in.
We even have a flame that comes out the back.
Is
about
that
4
right?
feet. Bridget
Wow.
can confirm
Wow.
that.
There is. And the kids,
Now-
it's a highlight for the kids when they see that flame coming out. It's just this big wow moment.
Same wow we get when we watch the show.
Sure, you bet.
Now, we've teased the audience. We've talked about a crime-fighting cave. Describe that.
Well, the crime-fighting cave, what we've done is years ago when I first got into this, I spent one entire snow-filled weekend up in Flagstaff going through all 120 episodes of the original show. We took screenshots of every device from the show that we could, and we have now created a 5,000 square foot, how would I describe it? Replica that includes Mr. Wayne's study, as you saw it in the show.
Oh, my gosh.
It's got a sliding bookcase. It's got bat poles for Batman and Robin, 2 of them side by side. We've recreated about 80 or 90% of the devices that were used for crime fighting in the cave.
The computer.
It's got the Bat computer, the crime computer, the anti-crime computer. We got computers all over the place. And, of course, we also have the Batmobile, the Batcycle, and even the Batmobile parachute pickup service van.
That is so cool.
Nobody else in the world has one of those. I am the only guy.
You were also sharing with me something about the Batcopter.
Well, that's true. The newest addition to our fleet, we recently purchased a dilapidated helicopter, and I now have some of my most stalwart volunteers all over it with blasters and sanders and welders, and we are going to recreate the 1966 crime-fighting copter.
That is so cool. Tell us about some of the events you've gone to and some people you've helped. Just off the top of your head, we've talked about Hope Kids. What are some of the other organizations that you've helped along the way?
Well, we've teamed now with part of our program is at the end of each evening, the charity that nominated the child to come to the cave is given a check. And another thing that we also do is we let the family choose a second charity. Some of these families are wiped out financially because of illness or what have you, and we let them pick a second charity that also gets a check. So as a result of that, over the 5 years we've been doing this, we've now been fortunate enough to write grants to almost 100 different charities. We may even be over 100 now.
Wow.
And we've given about $400,000 in those grants. And so, the list is extremely long, but some of the big names are, of course, Hope Kids, Children's Cancer Network. We work with Make-A-Wish of Arizona a lot. We've done 2 Batman-themed wishes for them. We work with the Phoenix Police Foundation to talk about something that's near and dear to your hearts. And also COPS has been another one we've worked with quite a bit. But they're all wonderful institutions run by people that are just working so hard to make a difference. And we believe deeply in all of them, and we feel fortunate that we're able to do something to help them in their mission.
Do you have any upcoming events that you want to kind of talk about?
We don't have anything in particular. What we normally do, we have a schedule now where we do shows at the cave every Thursday and Sunday. And so we're booked out pretty much till the end of the year. But it's just been so much fun. When I was a kid, I talk a lot about transformation a lot. When I was a kid, to me, the end-all, be-all was to get my mitts on those keys and drive that car. And then after you drive the car and you've driven it for a while, you figure out that that's not really what's so important. To me, the most fun I have now is throwing the keys to a dad, and just as I did with Colten's dad, saying, take your kid for a ride. And now I've gone through another transformation, which is I used to be a guy who gave, but, sometimes it was a little bit of a chore or, it wasn't always on the top of my list. And now I wake up every day and I feel like I have a mission, and my mission is to go out and just help people who need it. And I can't tell you how fulfilling that is. And just like, Bruce Wayne hopping down those poles and becoming an alter ego, I feel like I've been transformed into something that's helpful to other people, and I can't tell you what joy it brings me.
Yeah, you're Bruce Wayne to Charles Keller. That helps
Well,
the community. No, seriously.
I do what I can.
think it's a good parallel.
He's
for
making
those
a
who know
difference.
who the Batman, who Batman really is when he's not wearing that mask, and that's what you are, sir, helping our community. So thank you.
You bet.
Tell us about a success story that you think kind of sheds light to what it's all about.
I would probably tell you about the Wolfson girls. So there are a couple of sisters who came to come see us, and they have a particularly vicious form of muscular dystrophy that goes by the acronym FA. I'd mispronounce it if I tried to say it. But they went through the cave show, and it was a wonderful evening with their family and friends, but I didn't think anything much of it out of the ordinary. And at the end of the evening, we go and retrieve them in a limousine owned by a particular millionaire philanthropist, Playboy. And at the end of the evening, we had the gals in the limo, and the dad came up to speak to me, and he was very emotional. And he said, speaking of his older daughter, he said, I haven't seen her smile like that in months. And we'd been toying with this idea beforehand, but it was almost at that exact moment in time. While their show may not have been out of the ordinary, it was at that moment in time that I decided what we're doing is still not enough. And so we are on the precipice of buying 5 acres of land, and we are going to put a permanent 20,000 square foot crime-fighting cave, 4 times the size of our existing facility, so we can serve more families and more charities and really be something that's here in Phoenix for forever. And I mean, isn't that the greatest success story of all, is that I met this family who I never met before, and once again, things are transformed, aren't they? Mm-hmm. I went from a guy who's just like, I'm working this 5,000 square foot warehouse, I'm doing a good job, and it's like, no, I can do better, and I will. And it was all spurred on by these 2 lovely young ladies who just couldn't be more pleasant, and it's been a great joy meeting them.
Has anyone helped you along the way? Is there any sponsor, anybody that you want to kind of throw out? And
all of our programs are financed by a certain millionaire philanthropist playboy who I cannot say on air.
Okay.
Yeah,
very good.
because one of the things let me put it this way. One of the things I really liked about the character Bruce Wayne in the original TV show is that he never took his credit for the things he did as Batman.
Right.
And I think that's a great way to live your life.
I think that's fantastic. On that note, thank you so much for everything you're doing, Charles. And I mean that. You're a wonderful, wonderful human being. Thank you. Bridget, thank you for introducing me to
Absolutely.
my connection to the crime-fighting cave and the Batmobile.
I just have to say, Charles and his whole entire team of volunteers is just amazing and making a true difference in our community.
Fantastic. But most of all, I want to thank you, the listening audience, because you are our community. And without our community, we wouldn't be able to stay safe through silent witness. So until next week, stay safe.